Uh, how many actually had a football dream, scoring the last-minute goal for their nation team in the finals of the World Cup? And how many actually joined a football team? And how many made it into the big league? So this is the problem we want to address tonight. The 4% out of the 96%, that's the problem we are going to be addressing. Over here speaking, Tariq Khalil, Growth Marketing Manager at Grintafy. I'll do all the tiki-taka in sports and marketing, app marketing. And I'll moderate a panel discussion on how does sport tech help in talent identification and players scouting. On central attacking midfield, we got Mr. Majdi Allulu, CEO and founder of Grintafy. On right back, we got Mr. Ben Harburg, co-owner of Cádiz Football Club. Mr. James O'Neill, Business Development and Strategic Partnership Lead at VE2 Max at Central Defending Midfield. All the way on the left wing, we got Mr. Carlos Carlino, CEO at KZN Football Academy. And finally, Mr. Mauro Saraiva, as striker, the football performance analyst for Qatar Stars League. All right. First question. Now, we want to know from you guys, how has technological innovation transformed traditional football scouting methods in the past decade? Mr. Mauro Saraiva, we'd like to hear your feedback on that.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I think the key regarding technology and the traditional methods of scouting, I think it would be the replicability that we can have and the remote access that now we can have that escalate completely the scouting capacity of the teams, of the leagues. For example, on QSL that we have the scouting department, and I think this is the most important shift on the methods that we got to introduce to the departments, as well as deeper insights, because technology nowadays, with so much data available on football that we didn't have 20 years ago compared to other sports, and I think that was the key for the process that we are seeing for the past 10 years, I guess, on football and on scouting.
Yes, that's interesting. And you guys feel free to tackle him. If you want to share your opinion, you can go ahead. That's an interesting point. Does anyone want to add to Mr. Mauro's opinion?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, it's great to be here and thank you for having me. I think the advancements that data technology and innovation have brought have obviously enabled scouting to embrace different opportunities, different perspectives. There's now more insights and data available than there's ever been, which provides, elite performance professionals the opportunity to look at things through a different lens, which they may not have been able to before this data was being adopted, used, or available, which I think is great for taking the game forward, but also it enables scouts in this instance to identify potential players which other clubs don't see, which is important to gain that competitive advantage, and ultimately, identify players that are going to have transformative market value for a club, but also within transfers. And also the introduction of technology, I think it really acts as an enabler and a facilitator when it comes to streamlining processes and ultimately helping stakeholders and scouts have that extra bit of insight and information to really validate decision making. And I think there's so much value that has, as well as products and technology and data being highly innovative as well.
I think if I could just add of personal experience in South Africa that we've had in being able to scout players across the provinces and the country itself. For us, information is power. And when you don't have that kind of data as an academy, it becomes very, very difficult to make decisions. You're not sure where to go. You're not sure the credibility of the information that you're receiving. And you have to actually go on your hands and knees and basically beg to find that kind of information. Where now technology is coming into, and we're happy as KZN Academy to be working with Grintafy, is that information now is going to be at hand, and the decision making is going to become so much easier, so much quicker, and it's going to be so much more effective. And especially if you're working with the younger ages. I know we always concentrate on the finished product. We're looking at those players that are ready to go into professional football. But as an academy, to have that information at players that are 11 years old and building up from that, we can actually build CVs for them and profiles for them, is unbelievable. And I think there is no other way that you can actually do this without technology.
Awesome.
I would like to add, as an ex-footballer and an ex-dreamer, I feel very unfortunate that back in the day we didn't have the technologies and the solutions available now for the young talents to showcase showcase their portfolio, showcase their capabilities of actually making it. So I believe that current generation is extremely lucky with the various solutions, whether it was wearables and AI and different social platform that can help them shine. So I truly believe that technology has helped big time in shedding the light on these young talents. And I think this is just the start. There's so much happening in the sports tech ecosystem that I think the upcoming generations will be much luckier.
Interesting. Thank you guys for sharing your input on this. I think the current generation will have it easier on how to start their football career. Taking the first step is now much clearer than before, and I think within the next 5 years, with the technology advancements, this will be taken into the next level. This question is for you, Mr. Ben Harburg. How do you perceive the role of sports tech and innovative football apps in enticing investment interest from football clubs?
So let's start at first principles, which is, a lot of people talk about all different kinds of interesting revenue streams we can make around the football program, be it in marketing or in real estate plays or in new kind of technologies and fan engagement. But when you boil it down, especially for teams that are not in that kind of blue chip upper echelon, the reality is that the best way for us to make money is through player trading. And that could be organic. That could be you develop players through your academy, which is expensive and time consuming, and it takes a while for you to really see the fruit of your labor. Or it can be through effective scouting. And the challenge for us as owners when we sit on this side of the table is there's such an overwhelming universe of potential target players that we can source. I'm very envious of my friends who are in American sports where they only have to look at football players in American universities and other teams, or baseball players in America and maybe a few South American countries. We're literally boiling a pool of talent that's millions of individuals across 100 countries and playing at all different tiers. And on our club, we have players. We've had players over the last few years from Montenegro and Albania and Mali and from Asia. And it's a really overwhelming pool of talent. And you don't know even after you spend a lot of time sourcing that talent whether they'll fit together well. You don't know if the chemistry is right on the field. And so I think historically, owners of clubs and those that manage them fell back upon relying on kind of old world skills and last generation technologies, which was this eye test. And did a coach think that a player made sense? Did a coach think that, did a scout think this guy looked and felt like a player should look? And it's really only been in just a few years that I think really pioneered out of Western sports, particularly baseball, we realized that through data science, we could blow up that entire ecosystem and that entire way of doing business. And we could look at statistics around the way players perform that people hadn't considered and make it a lot more systematic and predictable. And that success now is spilling over into football, where people that succeeded in American baseball are doing well in European football. We have one in our league. We have a few in Italy. And so that the proof is now in the pudding. So what that provides for us is a lot of hope that now we can make this a more systematic and predictable and productive business of not only making our teams better through integrating technology into that sourcing process, but more importantly for driving revenue, that we can use it to find hidden gem players that we then as a club can sell on for profit. And we did that effectively last trade window, where we sold about $8 million worth of players and netted ourselves about $6 million. So really important.
Wow, that's really interesting. Anyone want to add on to this question? Yep. Right. Thank you, Mr. Ben. Mr. Carlos, you're a passionate football fan. You're committed to the beautiful game for 22 years. You're one loyal man. Please tell us, where do you see football apps stand under the sports tech category? Like, is it under AI gadgets, data tracking, talent scouting? And what do you think its vital advantage towards talent discovery for scouts?
Well, I think there's going to be a whole mix of technologies that are going to be coming in together. I don't think there's one specific technology that's going to supersede the others. I think AI now is a major development and everyone's looking at that. But if you look at the general technology that's been available now and recently made available to the academy, to be able to go out and find players, to be able to give the scouts profiles. Technology is giving individuals, for example, your common football fan who is sitting in a region that is a fan of a club, is now able to send information, can upload a video, can send a basic profile data that it comes of interest to the academy. For example, for us, and what we're doing is that we want to be able to identify a player in an area, and we want to be able to look at certain things in a profile. With technology now, I can say in our region, I can say I'm looking for a player that's a centre back, he's 1.85 meters, he's got to be left-footed, he must have this set of schooling, and he must be 17 years old. It automatically will give me that information, and that is the power that is required. There's no other way I can see scouting going back to the old traditions, where you actually go out and do all that work. It's actually going to open up a lot of new avenues and new opportunities as well to not only the scouts of the academy, but also to people that are involved in the sport, who love the sport, who would like to provide some sort of information. All that information is going to be key in making decisions on certain players in certain areas.
Awesome. Thank you. Right. So this question will be to Mr. Savaro. So, Mauro, what kind of information you're looking for from tech to improve your scouting abilities? You, as a football performance analyst, would really appreciate your input on this.
So basically, first we need to understand the context. So regardless what you are looking for, that's what will determine the KPIs that you will look for. And then regarding the technology, it needs to fit these KPIs and needs to provide these KPIs on a matter that will help our workflow, because the technologies are just a support. They are not the key decision makers. We are, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, what's important is to have a technology that will be fit for the needs that we have. In this case, the needs that we need to fill to expand our capacity to have as much as information as possible, as much data as possible, to create a customizable tool, because I think it's very important for us, especially in high performance, to have everything customizable. And I think this is the key, to have a technology that is capable of being customizable enough and that is strong enough to provide us with all the KPIs that we need, regardless of what we are looking for. Regarding scouting, and this was a discussion that we were having earlier in this panel, I think it's important to understand that the next steps will always be able to have more data and to democratize that data. So we need to be able to expand our capacity to make that data available for all the stakeholders that we are working for. And that's what I think that large language models are very important, and creating the right algorithms and using AI in a proper way, I think that will be the key. And this is where technology is very important, because as technical staff of a department, regardless if you are in a league or a federation or a club or an academy, of course, this is the key. We are not experts on this back end situations that we need to provide to have on the front end. And the algorithms will not be treated by us, and this is where technology is very important, for them to understand what we really need in our context, and with the resources that we have available to work with those solutions that technology provides.
Awesome. Now I've noticed that the technological advancements, they're headed towards more of the big players. I would like to direct this question to Mr. Majdi. Now you are working on a football app that expose such kind of data access to the amateur players, to the most of the public, where thereby those players that have potential to become a actual big player, they can utilize this mobile app. Could you tell us more about it?
Yeah, so I think it's cool that we have SportsTech. It's cool that we have all these AIs and machine learnings and whatnot, but I think transforming from a traditional scouting into tech scouting has to happen in a gradual way. There's a lot of different solutions that is simply not practical for the amateur side. I mean, when you talk about professional players, it's easier. There is funds for that. You can implement whatever technologies you want to track and to measure the performance of the players. When it comes to our end, when we're talking about kids from 8 to 18 or 8 to 20, it's really difficult to talk to 8 years old and talk to him about AIs and whatnot. So when we introduce technologies for him, it has to happen in a gradual basis. So use tech, just to at least have some sort of information available on the net, so clubs and partners and agents can see you, and then gradually go ahead and try to experiment in different technologies. A lot of these techs they're not affordable. They're not affordable by the general means. So I believe the way to do it is gradual, and I think at what we do, we did it successfully in the last period.
That's great. Congratulations. All right, Mr. James, Mr. Epic Jordans. You divert more into the business side of the beautiful game. You're more experienced in partnerships and development, so much we think you might be able to make a Madrid and Barca fan best friends. So, Mr. James, what do you think your key factors that increase? What do you think are the key factors that increase the chance of the creation of a football community digitally?
I think community is key in every aspect of the game, especially when you're talking about players and fans. And you look at the player and the fan now; they are engaging with the game more than ever, and that's down to the availability of platforms, technology, content, but also they're more demanding than ever. So. How you build a community is by, I think, ultimately, being authentic. That's fundamentally, the foremost important thing. But also, I think being accessible and also being able to actually really understand who the fan is on an individual and on a personalized level. I think that's how you really make them feel valued. You make them feel like they can have input into something that they really care deeply about, and that's what creates, I think, the emotional connection with the game, which we all love, and that's what keeps fans coming back more and more and more. I think that is something that whenever you're talking about building a community, it's that personalization, that tangibility, that connection between club and fan, or product and user, which is so important.
I think if I could just add
Yes.
to what James has just said, is the exciting thing is with technology is you're able to bring the community into the actual sport, and by having certain apps that the community can participate in the actual development of a child. So, for example, if you take a 6-year-old, every single father believes that his 6-year-old is going to be professional. If you like it or don't like it, he believes it. He will put all his resources, everything he needs, behind his son. And if he has an application that he's involved and he gets benefits of that, if he supports a club and he can actually interact and have that, and I think this is what Grintafy has actually done so well, is that you're bringing everybody into the role of someone's life and an opportunity to get to that club that they dream about. And you actually be able to bring that whole community in. And I see that in South Africa, is that always when we scout a boy and we take him into the academy and then he signs his professional contract after 4 or 5 years, we see what it does, because it allows not only to change his life, it changes his family's life, but it changes the community's life, because the community sees that boy as the opportunity that their child will have that opportunity. And by having these applications, it allows them to be involved in that positioning and that step-to-step zone. And that's, I think, technology is going to make such an important thing in football and in other sports, in bringing the community closer to the reality. They can actually touch. Yeah. And when you can touch, you want.
Yes, that's very true. Thank you, Mr. Carlos. All right. So next question is really important. It means a lot to the world and the football dreamers out there. We need everyone's input on this, please. Can sports tech drive social impact to bring those within disadvantaged communities into football?
I truly believe it does. We just recently had a very cool success story that we're very proud of. So there was this little kid, he's like 14 years old, from a very small city in Saudi, down south. He participated in one of the tryouts that we, as Sportstick product, arranged with one of the clubs, and he was scouted, and he went all over to the, he signed officially with the club, and now he's playing the national team of Saudi. So I think sports definitely help those talents that don't have the means to showcase their portfolio, whether it was Grintafy or not. But I think sports tech in general will definitely help. So,
yeah, I think for me, I would completely agree, and I think it all comes down to the word accessibility. And I think what's been great to see with the advancements of the sports technology industry is that there is now a big shift from focusing what tech is doing at the elite level of the sport, but also how it can impact all the tiers below down to the grassroots. And I think Grintafy is a beautiful example. I saw an amazing clip from VE2 earlier from the Kevin De Bruyne Cup with a team from South Africa playing against Manchester City, which you would never normally see, and because of the camera availability being there, it's able to capture amazing moments which are so valuable for kids to see and experience. And I think the more accessible we make it, not only from a product's availability, but actually how a kid at 8 years old or a player at 18 years old can actually engage with the platform, the accessibility of the information that it provides, that it's high value from a technical perspective, but it's easily digestible and it's easy for them to understand and relate to, and be able to take that information to help them improve as a player and a person. And ultimately, yeah, I think play development is one part, but the major role that I think sports tech has to play, and where it can really have huge impact, is that enhancement and that enrichment of someone's sports experience. I think that's fundamental for the sustainability and growth of the game as a whole for me.
we know that football is religion, and it really is. It's the church that we all go to worship, and it's also the place where we get our hopes and our dreams, and where we get empowered to do bigger things. And the power that football has to change all aspects of society, not just improve the lives of the players and their families and their communities, but also for social change. We use our platform at Cádiz to push for things around women's rights and diversity, inclusion, and other areas that I think are neglected, and where maybe it's more sensitive for political folks to get involved with it, but actually football makes it a context that can drive change, and it becomes less controversial in a way. We've made a huge effort within Cádiz to spend time finding players in underdeveloped markets. Those players come to our academy. They come to our first team even. For instance, we have a player on our team named Momo Mumbai, who's an incredible player from Mali. He returned to his home country, over the Eid period, and paid for the meals of his community, and gives back a huge amount. And he's one of the younger and lower paid players on our team. So even at the low tiers of salary, these players can have huge impact. So we're now going even further afield as a club. For instance, this Sunday we're going to be running a camp in partnership with La Liga Fundación in the Zatari refugee camp in Syria, in Jordan, for Syrian refugees, where we're working with the kids there to give them access to better coaching and training and facilities and equipment, and then hopefully some of them will also emerge as viable players from their community, and then can give back and create sustainable revenue through that. So we have to continually push the envelope to go further out to parts of the world that are unaddressed, but when we do, the impact is tremendous.
Amazing, thank you. And we believe all your efforts will be put into the right place to give everyone a chance to achieve their football dreams. I think our time is up, and I would really thank everyone for coming, and to this panel. I would also thank all the speakers over here. Thank you guys for coming, and really appreciate it. Thank you so much.